When Arya Raman found out she was pregnant, the world seemed to fall silent around her. She stared at the two pink lines on the test, her hands trembling. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. She had always planned her life carefully: finish university, build her own career, support her widowed mother. Love had never been part of the immediate plan, and neither had Liam Carter. Liam Carter was the youngest billionaire in the country, the CEO of Carter Technologies. His face was often in business magazines, his interviews trending online. Powerful, intelligent, untouchable, and completely out of her league. Arya had met him 6 months earlier when she started working as a junior marketing assistant at his company. She was quiet, focused, and determined not to draw attention to herself. But somehow, Liam noticed her. It began with small conversations in the hallway, then late meetings discussing campaign ideas. He admired her creativity. She admired his dedication. Beneath the sharp suits and commanding presence, she saw a man burdened by expectations. Their relationship wasn't planned. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was a quiet connection that grew in stolen moments and honest conversations. One rainy night, after celebrating a successful product launch, emotions ran high. They crossed a line neither of them had expected. And now, 2 months later, Arya stood alone in her small apartment, whispering, "I'm pregnant." She tried to focus at work, but her thoughts were scattered. Morning sickness made it difficult to hide her condition. Liam noticed almost immediately. "You don't look well," he said gently, stepping into her office. His usual confident tone softened. "Are you sick?" Arya's heart pounded. She had rehearsed this conversation 100 times in her head, but now that he stood before her, words felt impossible. "We need to talk," she whispered. An hour later, they were in his private office at the top floor. The city skyline stretched behind him, glittering under the afternoon sun. "I'm pregnant, Liam." Silence filled the room. For a moment, she feared she had just destroyed everything. She expected anger, disappointment, maybe even denial. Instead, Liam sat down slowly, absorbing the news. "Are you sure?" he asked quietly. She nodded. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. "I never planned to become a father this soon." "Neither did I," she replied, fighting tears. "I don't expect anything from you. I can raise this baby on my own." That made him stop. "On your own?" His voice was firm now. "You think I'd let that happen?" Arya blinked. "Liam, your world is different. Your family expects you to marry someone powerful, someone from your social circle." "And since when do I live for my family's expectations?" he shot back. For the first time, she saw vulnerability in his eyes. "My father built this empire," he said quietly, "but he also built walls around us. I've spent my whole life proving myself worthy of a legacy I didn't choose. This child is something I choose." Her breath caught. "You want this baby?" she asked. He walked closer, taking her trembling hands in his. "I don't know how to be a perfect father," he admitted, "but I know I won't run away." The news broke to the media 2 weeks later. A photo of Liam holding Arya's hand outside a hospital spread across social networks. Headlines exploded. "Billionaire CEO expecting child with employee. Secret romance revealed." Arya felt overwhelmed. Strangers judged her without knowing her story. Some accused her of trapping him for money. Others questioned her character. She wanted to disappear. But Liam stood beside her publicly. During a press conference, he shocked everyone. "Yes," he said confidently, "Arya is carrying my child, and I am proud of it." Reporters shouted questions, cameras flashing wildly. "Will you marry her?" Liam glanced at Arya, then back at the crowd. "That decision belongs to us, not to the public." That night, Arya cried, not from sadness, but from relief. For the first time, she didn't feel alone. Months passed. Liam insisted she move into his penthouse for comfort and security, but Arya had one condition: she would continue working. "I don't want to lose myself," she told him. "You won't," he promised. Slowly, their relationship changed. It wasn't built on secrecy anymore. It was built on partnership. Liam attended doctor appointments. He read parenting books late at night. Sometimes Arya would wake up to find him resting his hand gently on her stomach, whispering softly to their unborn child. "I never thought I'd see you like this," she teased once. "Like what?" "Soft." He smiled. "Don't tell anyone. I have a reputation to protect." But challenges came. Liam's mother, Victoria Carter, was not pleased during dinner one evening. "This will damage the family name," she said coldly during dinner. "A sudden pregnancy with an employee?"
Arya felt small under her sharp gaze. Liam's jaw tightened. "She has a name. It's Arya." Victoria sighed. "You deserve someone more suitable." Liam stood up. "I deserve happiness, and she gives me that." That night, Arya realized something important. Love wasn't about grand gestures or wealth. It was about choosing each other, again and again despite the pressure. The day their daughter was born, Liam held Arya's hand as she struggled through labor. "You are the strongest woman I know," he whispered. When the baby's cry filled the room, both of them froze. A tiny girl with Liam's dark hair and Arya's bright eyes. Liam's expression changed completely. The powerful billionaire vanished, replaced by a father overwhelmed with emotion. "She's perfect," he breathed. Arya watched him cradle their daughter carefully, tears in his eyes. In that moment, she understood something. This child wasn't a mistake. She wasn't a scandal. She was a beginning. 6 months later, life looked different. Arya had returned to work, now promoted to head of creative marketing. Not because she was the mother of Liam's child, but because she had proven her talent. Liam balanced board meetings with bedtime stories. The media slowly lost interest. Another scandal replaced theirs. One evening, as they watched their daughter sleep, Liam turned to Arya. "Marry me," he said softly. She laughed. "Is that a proposal or an order, Mr. Billionaire?" He knelt beside her anyway. "I don't want to marry you because we have a child," he said. "I want to marry you because you're my partner, because you challenge me, because you make me human." Arya felt tears fill her eyes. "Yes," she whispered. Their story hadn't started like a fairy tale. It started with uncertainty, fear, unexpected news. But sometimes, the most beautiful beginnings come from the least expected moments. And for Arya, being pregnant by a billionaire wasn't about money or fame. It was about discovering that love, when chosen bravely, can turn even the most shocking surprise into the greatest blessing of all. The engagement ring felt heavier than Arya expected, not because of the diamond, though it was breathtaking, but because of everything it represented. Commitment, pressure, public attention, and a future tied forever to Liam Carter. The announcement of their engagement spread faster than the pregnancy news had months earlier. Billionaire CEO to marry employee, from assistant to Mrs. Carter. Arya tried not to read the comments, but curiosity always won. Gold digger, lucky girl. She planned this. Each word stung, even though she told herself it didn't matter. One night, she sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling silently. Liam noticed. "Stop reading that," he said gently. "I just don't understand why they hate me," she whispered. He walked over and took the phone from her hands. "They don't hate you," he said firmly. "They hate the story they created about you. But what if your investors think the same?" Liam smiled slightly. "If my company can't survive because I fell in love and had a child, then it was never strong to begin with." She looked at him carefully. "You make it sound simple." "It's not," he admitted. "But you and our daughter are not mistakes I need to fix. You're my family." Planning the wedding was nothing like Arya imagined. She had dreamed of something small, maybe a beach ceremony with close friends. But Liam's mother insisted on something appropriate for the Carter name. 5-star hotel. Politicians. CEOs. International guests. Arya felt like she was planning a corporate merger instead of a marriage. One afternoon, during a wedding planning meeting, Victoria Carter handed Arya a stack of papers. "The guest list," she said coldly. "You'll review it." Arya flipped through the pages. Hundreds of names she didn't recognize. "Where are my friends?" she asked quietly. Victoria paused. "This event isn't about childhood friendships. It's about alliances." Arya felt her chest tighten. That night, she told Liam everything. "I don't want to feel invisible at my own wedding," she said. Liam listened silently. The next morning, he made a decision. "We're changing it," he announced to his mother during breakfast. Victoria frowned. "Changing what?" "The wedding. Smaller. Private. Family and close friends only. This is unacceptable." "It's my wedding," Liam interrupted calmly. "Not a shareholder meeting." Arya watched in surprise. He wasn't angry. He was certain. And for the first time, Victoria had no response. But challenges didn't stop there. A rival businessman leaked a rumor claiming Arya had signed a secret contract guaranteeing financial security before agreeing to marriage. The news channels debated it for days. Arya was devastated. "I didn't even know something like that existed," she cried. Liam's face darkened. "This is business warfare. They're trying to weaken me." "Because of me," she whispered. He stepped closer. "No," he corrected. "Because they think you are my weakness." He took her hands. "You're not my weakness, Arya. You're the reason I'm stronger." Instead of hiding, Liam surprised everyone again. He brought Arya to the next major company gala. In front of executives and investors, he introduced her not as my fiancée but as the creative mind behind our company's most successful campaigns. The applause that followed wasn't polite, it was genuine. For the first time, people saw her as more than a headline. As their daughter grew, so did their understanding of each other. Parenthood wasn't glamorous. There were sleepless nights, missed meetings, baby food on expensive suits. Once, during an important video conference, their daughter started crying loudly in the background. Liam picked her up mid-call without hesitation. "Gentlemen," he said calmly to the screen, "this is my most important responsibility." Arya laughed from across the room. The powerful billionaire who once terrified boardrooms was now making funny faces to calm a baby. And she loved him more for it. A week before the wedding, Arya found Liam standing alone on the balcony, staring at the city lights. "You're thinking too much," she said softly. He sighed. "I'm just wondering if I'm enough." She stepped beside him. "Enough for what?" "For you. For her. For this family." Arya smiled. "You didn't run when things became complicated," she said. "You chose us when it would have been easier not to." She placed his hand over her heart. "That's more than enough." The wedding day arrived quietly. No flashing cameras. No political speeches. A garden ceremony under warm sunlight. Arya wore a simple white dress. Liam couldn't take his eyes off her. Their daughter, dressed in soft pink, giggled in her grandmother's arms. Even Victoria seemed softer that day. When the vows came, Liam spoke first. "I built companies by calculating risks," he said. "But loving you was never a calculation. It was instinct." Arya's eyes filled with tears. "You turned my biggest fear into my greatest blessing," she replied. "You didn't just give our daughter a father. You gave me a partner." When they kissed, it wasn't for the cameras. It was for themselves. Months later, life settled into something peaceful. Not perfect, but real. Arya balanced motherhood and leadership at work. Liam learned that success wasn't measured only in profit margins, but in bedtime stories and quiet dinners at home. One evening, as they sat on the living room floor watching their daughter attempt her first steps, Liam whispered, "Do you ever regret it?" Arya looked at him. "Regret what?" "That night. The surprise. Everything." She smiled softly. "If that night hadn't happened," she said, "we wouldn't be here." Their daughter stumbled forward and fell into Liam's arms, laughing. And in that laughter, Arya knew something with absolute certainty. Being pregnant by a billionaire was never about wealth. It was about building something priceless, a family chosen, protected, and loved despite the world's doubts. And this time, their story wasn't about scandal. It was about forever. 2 years later, life had finally become steady. Arya had grown into her role, not just as Liam's wife, but as a respected executive at Carter Technologies. Their daughter, Alina, had Liam's determination and Arya's warmth. The penthouse that once felt intimidating now felt like home. But peace, Arya would learn, never stays forever in the world of power. It started with a phone call. Liam stood by the window, his expression unreadable as he listened. Arya watched from across the room, sensing the shift immediately. "What happened?" she asked once he ended the call. "There's going to be a takeover attempt," he said calmly. Her heart skipped. From who? Daniel Hayes. The name meant little to Arya, but the tension in Liam's jaw meant everything. "He's been trying to buy shares quietly for months," Liam continued. "Now he has enough to challenge my position as CEO. Can he actually remove you? If enough board members support him, yes." Arya felt cold. The company wasn't just Liam's career. It was his identity, his father's legacy, the empire he had spent years protecting. "And why now?" she whispered. Liam looked at her. "Because he thinks I'm distracted. Distracted? With family. With you. With Alina." The words felt like a slap. The following weeks were chaos. Board meetings stretched late into the night. Investors demanded reassurance. Financial media speculated openly about Liam losing control of his own company. Headlines resurfaced old stories. Did family life weaken the billionaire CEO? Arya tried not to take it personally, but when she overheard 2 executives whispering about her in the hallway, her patience broke. She changed him. He used to be ruthless. That evening, she confronted Liam. "Are they right?" she asked quietly. "About what? Have I changed you?" He didn't answer immediately. "Yes," he finally said. Her stomach tightened. "You made me better," he continued. "I used to think leadership meant domination. Now I understand it means responsibility." She searched his eyes for doubt. "You're not losing your edge," she said firmly. "You're evolving." He smiled faintly. "Maybe the board doesn't see it that way." One night, unable to sleep, Arya sat at her desk reviewing company performance reports. Something caught her attention. Daniel Hayes wasn't just targeting Carter Technologies randomly. He was targeting divisions Liam had personally invested in, the ones focused on sustainable development and employee welfare. Projects Liam believed in. Projects that didn't immediately maximize profit. Arya understood something suddenly. This wasn't about business. It was about philosophy. The next morning, she walked into Liam's office with a new kind of determination. "We're fighting this the wrong way," she said. He raised an eyebrow. "Oh, Daniel is telling the board you've become soft, that your emotional decisions hurt profitability." "They're not emotional," Liam said defensively. "I know," she replied, "but we haven't proven that." She laid out a presentation she had prepared overnight. Data, growth forecasts, long-term returns from ethical investments, employee productivity increases, brand loyalty metrics. "You've been building a future-proof company," she said. "We just need to show them that." Liam stared at her, impressed. "When did you prepare all this?" "While you were doubting yourself." For the first time in weeks, he laughed. The decisive board meeting arrived. Arya wasn't officially required to attend, but Liam insisted she sit in. Daniel Hayes was sharp, confident, and persuasive. "Carter Technologies needs aggressive leadership," Daniel declared, "not sentimental distractions." His gaze flickered briefly toward Arya. Liam remained calm. When it was his turn to speak, He didn't defend himself emotionally. He presented numbers, growth statistics, expansion plans, long-term valuation models. Then he did something unexpected. He invited Arya to speak. Several board members looked surprised. Arya stood confidently. 4 years, this company measured success in quarterly profits, she began. But global markets are changing. Consumers are choosing brands aligned with values. Investors are prioritizing sustainability. She clicked to the final slide. Under Liam's leadership, this company hasn't weakened. It has diversified. It has stabilized. It has evolved. Silence followed. Daniel tried to interrupt, but one of the senior board members raised a hand. Let her finish. Arya did. When the vote finally came, it was close. Very close. But Liam remained CEO. Daniel Hayes left the room without shaking hands. That night, Liam came home exhausted, but victorious. He found Arya in the living room, reading to Alina. Without a word, he knelt and hugged them both. You saved my company, he whispered. No, Arya corrected softly. You built something worth saving. He looked at their daughter, who giggled and tried to fix his tie with tiny fingers. I used to think power meant control, Liam said. But today I realized something. What? I'm strongest when I'm not alone. Weeks passed, and the media shifted tone again. Carter Technologies wins confidence vote. Family-oriented leadership proves profitable. But this time, Arya didn't care about headlines. One quiet evening, as they watched the sunset from their balcony, Liam turned to her. Do you ever wonder what life would have been like if that night never happened? She smiled gently. Maybe easier, she admitted. Maybe. He took her hand. But not better. Inside, Alina's laughter echoed through the apartment. The little girl who once began as a surprise had become the center of their strength. Arya leaned her head on Liam's shoulder. Being pregnant by a billionaire was never the real story, she said softly. He looked at her. What was? Learning that love doesn't weaken power. He kissed her forehead. It redefines it. And as the city lights shimmered below them, Arya understood something deeply. Their story wasn't about wealth. It wasn't about scandal. It wasn't even about survival. It was about building a legacy, not of money, but of courage, partnership, and choosing each other every single time.